You're not going to outwork me. You might have more talent than me. You might be smarter than me. You might be sexier than me. You might be all of those things. You got it on me in 9 categories. But if we get on the treadmill together, right, there's 2 things. You're getting off first, or I'm gonna die. It's really that simple. You're not going to outwork me. It's such a simple, basic concept. It's the guy who is willing to hustle the most is going to be the guy that just gets that loose ball. If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready.
The separation of talent and skill is one of the greatest misunderstood concepts for people who are trying to excel, who have dreams, that want to do things. Talent you have naturally. Skill is only developed by hours and hours and hours of beating on your craft. There's no easy way around it. No matter how talented you are, your talent is going to fail you if you're not skilled.
You're not going to outwork me. I want to represent an idea. I want to represent possibilities. I want to represent magic, right? Make a choice. Like, you just decide what it's going to be, who you're going to be, how you're going to do it. Just decide. And then from that point, the universe is going to get out your way. I want to represent possibilities. I want to represent the idea that you really can make what you want.
We didn't grow up with the sense that where we were was where we were going to be. You know, we grew up with the sense that where we were almost didn't matter because we were becoming something greater. Greatness is not this wonderful, esoteric, elusive, God-like feature that only the special among us will ever taste. You know, it's something that truly exists in all of us. Very simple. This is what I believe, and I'm willing to die for it.
The road to success is through commitment and through the strength to drive through that commitment when it gets hard. And it is going to get hard, and you're going to want to quit sometimes, but it'll be colored by who you are and more who you want to be. I'm not afraid to die on a treadmill. I will not be outworked, period.
He who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right.
The way to improve lives is to continually improve yourself. Good people have to get out of the bed every day and try to empty the ocean with a ladle.
To have the level of success that I want to have, it's difficult to spread it out and do multiple things. You know, it's in order to be world class, and I've made a decision, I want to be world class. And it takes such a desperate, obsessive focus to excel on the level that I want to make movies.
We are who we choose to be.
A lot of people, they wish, and they're not willing to work. You see, the thing about chasing a product, and what the product is money. The product is a house, the product is a car. The thing about chasing a product, the product can always change. And if your performance is always based upon the product, what happens when the products change and you don't take pride in what you do? But the thing about loving the process, everybody wants the prize, but nobody loves the process. Everybody wants to be a champion, but nobody's willing to put in the work that it takes to be a champion. Everybody wants to hold up the trophy and say, man, I did it, but nobody's willing to put in the work that it takes to do it. I love the process. I love the thought of working for what I want. I firmly believe you're never supposed to wish for it more than you're willing to work for it. Your expectations never supposed to exceed your effort. But a lot of people, they wish, and they're not willing to work. And And the great thing about life has a funny way of testing all of us and seeing how bad we really want what it is that we say we want. Because the thing I know about people can talk the talk. And people do it very well. But life is going to hit you with a certain level of opposition. Life is going to hit you with a certain level of adversity. And life is going to say to you, you said you wanted it, now let's see how bad you really want it. But the great thing about it, if you love the process, when opposition and adversity hits, you will have a way of embracing it and using it, not only for yourself, but you will use it to make everybody that's connected to you stronger, because your vision has to be larger than yourself. If everything that you do is just about you and for your personal gain, something's gonna come up against you that's gonna be a lot tougher than you. And if it's just about you, the moment you hit it, you're gonna quit and give up every time. I'm 29 years old. My mother got pregnant with me at 15 years old. I grew up on the east side of Atlanta, about 5 minutes away from where the Atlanta Braves play, in a neighborhood by the name of Kirkwood. Drugs, gangs, violence, you name it. And I came up in a 2-bedroom home, 14 people. And so as a kid, pretty quick, I had to make a decision of what I wanted to do with my life, because in that same house, I had 8 uncles, all 8 of which are still going in and out of prison till this day because they sold drugs and they were in gangs. And so I looked at it, and it's kind of like that quote that says, learn from the mistakes of other people because you can't make them all yourself. And so I saw them selling drugs, but I also saw the outcome. And so I said, I'm not selling drugs. I'm not joining a gang, because I see where that road leads to. Either I'm going to end up dead or in prison. I said, so my best bet may be to go to the NFL. And so I went to my cousin by the name of Tamon. I said, listen, man, I want to go to the NFL. I feel our family deserves a better way of life. Let's work for it. You see, most nights after practice, everybody would leave to go home. And I always had to sit in the park because my mother worked at Wendy's. And my mother didn't get off work till about 10 o'clock, 10:30 most nights. And I'll be sitting there in the park, and I loved it. I didn't want anybody to take me home, because when I went home, I was sleeping on the floor with roaches and rats. And so anytime I got in solitude to dream, anytime I got in solitude to think about what I wanted to do for my family and my community, I took advantage of it. And so most nights, I'll be sitting there in the park, and I'll be looking up at the lights. And I'll be envisioning myself doing things in the NFL, envisioning myself doing things for my community. And just as the lights would always go out, my mother, she would pull up, and she used to drive an old Buick Regal. Hubcaps off the car, seats torn up, the car was all beat up. And she would pull up and she would put the car in park. And I would always hop up, I would run over to my mother, I would give her a hug and a kiss. And I would say, Mom, if you don't mind, can you please sit back in your car? I have to do some extra drills, I have to go to the NFL. She would never have to work another day in your life. And I knew she was tired. And every night my mother would say, sure, Ink, and she would sit back in that car. Those car lights would hit that field, and here you had a 7-year-old kid doing backpedaling drills, running sprints, running laps, chasing his dream to go to the NFL. And just beyond those car lights, I could always connect with my mother's eyes. And so it made me dig a little bit deeper. It made me push myself a little bit further. It made me work a little bit harder. I live by this thing called the harder you work, the harder it is to surrender. You see, the reason people quit, they don't take pride in what they do. The harder you work, the harder it is to surrender. And I'm not just talking about business, I'm talking about winning simultaneously in every aspect of life. I'm not concerned with a person that does well in one aspect of their life and they can hang their hat there and say, man, I made a lot of money. You made a lot of money, you're a public success, but you're a private failure. And one night my mother couldn't pick me up, and she called Coach Trey. She said, Coach, I can't make it tonight. Can you please take Inky home? And so he put me and about 8 guys in the back of his pickup truck, and he said, Inky, I'm gonna drop you off last. And so when he got to my house, I got out on the sidewalk, and I'm standing in front of 125 Warren Street, and I looked back at Coach Trey. And I said, why are you doing this? Because where I came from, people didn't just help you. It was, I pat you on your back, you gotta pat me on my back. You remember I did that for you, you gotta do this for me. And I said, why are you doing this? And he looked back at me and he said, son, I wanna tell you something. And he said, I don't want you to ever forget it. He said, son, the more you make sure that somebody else's life is okay, God will always make sure that your life is okay. And immediately I got it. The light bulb went off. I stopped being this little selfish kid. I stopped being like my 4-year-old son. And for the first time in my life, I stopped thinking everything was just about Inky Johnson, and I realized my existence on this earth is a lot bigger than me. I realized my lineage and my family, when I step outside of my door in the morning, what I represent is a lot bigger than me. And so the thing I had to understand, every day I woke up and everything that I was a part of, I first had to understand I was representing a lot more than myself. I first had to start living by two words, honor and legacy. And what I mean by honor and legacy, you honor the ones that paved the way for you. And you leave a legacy for the It didn't matter if I didn't represent my lineage in the right way, if I didn't represent my team in the right way. Who cares what I did individually? I didn't care if we won a game and I scored 40 points individually. Who cared? I shifted from me to we. And so everything I started to do, I was thinking about my family, I was thinking about my community, and I was thinking about my friends in a different way. And I will never forget, I got to high school, and nobody in my family had ever been to college. They all dropped out, ended up in prison. And I'll never forget it. My first time on an airplane, I'm washing my hands. There was a sign on the wall. And as I was walking out of the restroom, the sign said, as common courtesy to the person that's coming behind you, can you wipe the sink out and leave it better than you found it? And I said, as common courtesy to the generation that is coming behind me in life, everything that I touch, everything that I'm a part of, I vow to God that I will leave it better than I found it. And so now it wasn't even about me. Got my scholarship up to Tennessee, and they looked at me when I first hit campus, 135-pound kid soaking wet in the SEC. And the first reporter, he asked me, he said, Inky Johnson, do you even think you're gonna play at the University of Tennessee? He said, you're 135 pounds. I said, not only am I gonna play, I'm gonna start. I said, you made a mistake. I said, see, what you don't understand, and this is what most people do, they base judgment off of what they can see. But what they don't understand, the moments that make you who you are, the moments that they can't see. You see, anybody can be on their best behavior when somebody is standing over their shoulder, watching them, seeing if they're gonna do what they're supposed to do. He could see I came from Crim High School. He could see I was 135 pounds. He could see I was 5'9". He could see all of the stats. He could see all of that. But what he never saw was when I was in the park with my mother when I was 7 years old. She was sitting at Buick Regal at 10:30 at night. What he didn't see was every Saturday morning at 5:30, I was up running 2 miles to a fire station and 2 miles back home. What he didn't see was every time I slept on that floor with ropes and rats with my cousins, I got up every morning, went to school, and never made one excuse. What he didn't see was on Christmas Eve when a guy came through me and my cousin's window, and he stuck a 9mm and a 45 in both our face and took all of our Christmas gifts, and we had to stand on the curb, and our mother told us, y'all just be grateful. He didn't see that. And those were the moments that made me who I am. And so now his opinion didn't matter. His opinion would never become my reality. And my freshman year, I played special teams. Sophomore season came, broke the starting lineup. Finally made it to the point in my life where I felt as if everything in my life was lining up. Watching the California Bears, and my defensive backs coach, Larry Slade, came in the room. He said, Inky Johnson, I got some good news for you. And I dropped the clicker, and I said, Coach, what is it? He said, son, you're a projected top 30 draft pick. He said, all you have to do is play these next 10 football games. You're an automatic multi-millionaire. I ran out of the room. I got on the phone. I called my mother and my grandmother. I said, listen. I said, after this season, we will never struggle. I said, we would never miss another meal. I said, after this season, our lives are about to change forever. And little did I know our lives were really about to change. This is a Tricky Beat production. Everybody wants to be a champion, but nobody's willing to put in the work that it takes to be a champion. Everybody wants to hold up the trophy and say, man, I did it, but nobody is willing to put in the work that it takes to do it. I love the process. I love the thought of working for what I want.
There's no secret to success. There's a system to success.
This is a Chucky Beat production.
And no matter what organization you become a part of, the system works if you work it. If you don't work it, it won't work. But it works if you work it. And that's one four-letter word that most people don't like. They're not willing to work. I wish I had not waited 14 years. Somebody said if you want to lose something, lose money. You can get that back. 8 out of 10 millionaires have been financially bankrupt. Walt Disney filed bankruptcy 7 times and had 2 nervous breakdowns. But don't lose time. There were 14 years I sat on the sideline. 14 years I said, I don't have an investor in me like Tony Robbins. 14 years that said, I don't have an MBA or a PhD, and I can't compete with these guys. I have the complexion of rejection. 14 years I silenced myself. Wow. You will fail your way to greatness. That most people allow their fear of failure, 80%, allow their fear of failure to outweigh their desire to succeed. When you're willing to fail again and again and again, when you make up your mind to become unstoppable, when you make up your mind to become a no matter what person, then that will then give birth to a part of yourself that you don't know right now. I have a friend who invited me to her brother's house to help him to get off drugs, to introduce him to a drug program that can help him. And I said, these people can help you, but you've got to be willing to do the work. And after we finished, he asked us to leave. And I'll never forget what she said. As we were going down the steps, she said, Les, I do apologize for wasting your time, but I realized when my brother knew that it would require work for him to get off drugs, that most people won't participate in their own rescue. And there are people who will be presented with an opportunity, who know that they could be laid off at any moment, who know that there's no such thing as job security, who know that them keeping their job has nothing to do with how good they are. And yet and still, they'll go to work and have knots in their stomachs, hoping when they open up an email that they have not been told this is your last day. They'll go to work hoping there's not a security guard standing by their desk with a box and say, empty your things in here and take them to the front door and escort them to the parking lot. They go in there hoping it doesn't happen. Why? Because they don't want to do the work. It's an aversion to most people's spirit. There's some people that maybe if they'd heard my voice, they would not have turned to drugs. If they'd heard my voice, their lives would have taken a different direction. And I can't get those 14 years back. That haunts me, and I think that drives me when I speak with such energy. I'm trying to make up for that time, but I can't. There's no secret to success. There's a system to success. And no matter what organization you become a part of, the system works if you work it. If you don't work it, it won't work. But it works if you work it. And that's one four-letter word that most people don't like. They're not willing to work.
This is a Chucky Beat production.